Hi everyone, I'm Alan. I am CEO of Miraculex. I started my company for one basic reason. I'm an addict. And unfortunately, so are all of us. We were all born addicted to sugar and sweeteners. This addiction basically follows us our entire lives, from the moment we're born until our death. This addiction is because we are each programmed deep in our DNA to crave all sugars and sweeteners. That's why today I think it's honestly one of the biggest problems in the world, where metabolic disease, diabetes, heart disease, cancer, these issues are honestly the biggest problem today in terms of medical or socio-economic of the 21st century. Whereas 40% of the planet today has some of the precursor symptoms to diabetes or other metabolic diseases. And that is why I started my company. I was born in Brooklyn 30 odd years ago. My family, very busy, hardworking. They wanted to always also give me the best. And it so happened that I was sort of raised by my grandmother. My grandmother, her whole life was food. She cooked food. She was a cook. In essence, for her personally, cooking was her entire life. She did it to support her family. She did it as a hobby, for fun, entertainment, for everything. It so happens that she was alive during World War II in occupied Europe, and her cooking skills happened to actually save her life on numerous occasions. So cooking food that was tasty was sort of her thing, her essence. So when I basically started college, she had breast cancer. As some of you might know, breast cancer is a very destructive thing. It moves very fast. So what she went through is, and also more advanced forms of chemo. And some forms of chemo sort of target fast-growing cells that happen to live on your tongue. These are called your taste buds. We will have them, we will need them. They sort of dictate how foods are to us. Do they taste good, do they taste bad, do we want them or not? So the thing is, when chemotherapy targets your taste buds or all fast-growing cells, it destroys them completely. Everything tastes like metal or rubber to you when you're going through these types of chemotherapy. So what that means is you lose weight, you don't feel good, you honestly feel very depressed, because if you know it or not, food makes us happy. It makes us content. It gives us this motivation. And without it, you sort of lost a big part of your life. So she sort of lost a huge part of her life, since cooking was such a fundamental part of it. She was losing weight, she was depressed, and wasn't feeling good. In fact, many people who undergo chemotherapy sort of go through these symptoms. And for a very long time, many people sort of don't know how to really deal with it. You try to have something that doesn't taste good, and try to gain weight, but it still doesn't work. So since I was starting college, I was very interested in biology and how taste works and how food works. I came upon this little berry. This berry is called the miracle berry. I know it's a weird name, miracle berry, like is this magic thing, but it's not really magic, but it could seem like that. It has this little protein called Miraculex, which actually could bind to your taste buds and act as almost this temporary taste bud, which can allow people to actually taste sweets and other foods that don't necessarily have those components to them. Like, for instance, lemons turn into lemonade, yogurt turns into cheesecake, it turns salads into candies. I know it's so weird, but it's a natural berry. For a long time, people have actually tried to mass produce this, but it's honestly, the technology wasn't there yet for a very long time. And let me tell you a little bit of history of the miracle berry. So it's native to West Africa, to Chad, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, everywhere on the Ivory Coast. It's been used there for countless millennia. for the native peoples to actually turn lots of their food products, which were fermented, into something that becomes palatable. There's a whole family of these protein sweeteners, but the miracle-berry is the most prominent. It was discovered by Western civilization in the 1700s, and people still consider it a miracle because, oh my gosh, it's transforming foods. And this little caveat as well, it lasts for half an hour. So imagine this little berry, this little protein, you taste it one time, and for a vast majority of your foods that you're gonna have for the next half hour are gonna be sweeter, tastes better, and in terms of becomes a lot more palatable. So to me, this was this really cool, fascinating story of what it does. But for chemotherapy patients, it's truly miraculous, where it could allow these patients to actually have their foods that they love and enjoy without necessarily adding in sugars or other sweeteners. This allows them to gain weight, it allows them to be happy and gain back their taste. So back to me. So I found this berry, I gave it to her. After she tried it, it was like, it doesn't taste like anything, but she tried some food after. It honestly woke her up. She could actually enjoy food again. And to me, this was very inspiring. I had it, and when I tried the same foods, it was like this shock, this unbelievable experience that I've had. I will never forget it, what it actually did to me, where it could turn some foods that usually are not that palatable into incredibly palatable foods. So I was sort of sitting on this idea for a very long time, trying to understand it, researching it. I went through undergrad, graduate school, and I basically, about 2.5 years ago, started this company. And the main mission of the company is to actually bring forward these protein sweeteners where people could actually have a great tasting sweetener without necessarily the caloric impact or the weird effects that many of these artificial sweeteners have. The thing is, very few people, almost everyone here knows, you don't want to have sugar, artificial sweeteners are bad, but where do these things come from? So sugar comes mostly from sugar cane and from sugar beets. It's very, very prominent, and another thing is, it's sort of the largest crops on planet Earth. Corn, soybeans, they come far second and third compared to sugar. It's grown all over, and it's used in almost 80% of all processed foods on the planet. And today, due to Western diets and habits, we're consuming over 70 pounds of it every single year for the vast majority of people. It's nuts. Our bodies were not made to consume so much sugar, and that's why you have all these issues coming out. So even 100 years ago, people have seen, oh no, sugar, it's just causing all these issues. What are we going to do about it? So what happened was, due to these accidents of history, people have actually discovered these artificial sweeteners. The first one was saccharin. It came from coal tar. And someone was working, trying to figure out how to take like extra coal tar, what they could do with it. They licked their fingers. It became sweet. Boom. For the next 60 years, saccharin was the big sweetener. What saccharin is today, you see it in coffee stores or any other place, a little pink packet. And that's sort of what it is. Then in the 1970s, this pharmaceutical company was looking at this type of drug for ulcers, and it failed, but they discovered it's actually really sweet. That's aspartame. That's probably right now the king of artificial sweeteners. That's Coke, Pepsi, tons of things. Then came, in the late 70s, there was this other ag tech company, and they were looking at pesticides. So they sort of figured out, oh, let's take sugar, dirt cheap, and let's combine it with chlorine, which is super toxic. Let's put them together and come up with this really cheap toxin. And so it so happened it didn't really work too well as a toxin for bacteria or bugs, but what it did work amazing for, it was super sweet. So you have coal tar, you have failed pharmaceutical drugs, and you have pesticides. And these are sort of this answer to sugar. It's nuts, but it's there, and we're eating it. And then let's go in the 1980s when the new sweeteners came out. Let's say like stevia or monk fruit. The thing is, these sweeteners sort of exist in absolute minute fractions in these fruits, like 1 part per million. They're very difficult to extract, like incredibly chemically intensive to extract. And the thing is, people don't honestly know the full interactions that they actually have on the bacteria that are beneficial to us that live in our stomach. And then again, they don't really even taste as good as sugar. So today, the landscape is you have these artificial sweeteners that aren't really good for you. You have these other natural sweeteners that aren't really that explored, and they're sort of bumped up to tremendous amounts of sweetener that, as humans, we're not really meant to digest, and they don't even really taste that good. So to me, I saw this huge issue where, oh my gosh, there's really nothing good that exists that's healthy, that tastes amazing, and sort of natural. So that's where Miraculum is today. We've actually combined different aspects of biotech and agtech to produce this amazing sweetener. And today we're trying to craft partnerships with larger companies so we can actually substitute the really bad sugars for healthier protein sweeteners. And I know it's sort of a weird thing, but if anyone here wants to try what a protein sweetener tastes like, I brought some samples. So just come find me after everyone gives a talk, and we can actually do it. I have some berry and a little purified stuff, so you can see what it's like. So I would like to definitely thank you for listening to my story and sort of why I'm doing this. And hopefully I'll be able to bring everyone a sweetness that could allow you to finally have your cake and eat it too.